Hi guys, I'm Destiny. This is Cindy, and welcome back to the Keep It Real podcast. And today we are joined with Sarah Bubbles. Yay! Hi, how are you?
Hey, I was trying to keep my hand in the frame. I was like, listen, so here's my advice. You guys should just keep all the awkward stuff before you hit record and then call it the Awkward Wrestler Podcast.
Hey, yeah.
That's what you should do. Just embrace it. Embrace the weird. That's what I say.
That's what we call Keep It Real. You never know what's going to happen.
I'm telling you.
I mean, some of the podcasts we've done been pretty interesting. You know a couple of them.
I know some of your recent guests, so I can only imagine. I've watched a few of them. So what's up?
So how are you been?
Well, working hard, tired all the time, typical stuff.
Especially mom stuff, right?
Yes. It's like, do we ever get rest? Does it ever happen?
No.
This
I
is just
forgot
my
what that word was a long time ago.
I should just get used to this then, huh?
Yeah.
Great.
But it's worth it though.
It is. That's true. Yeah. At the end of the day, they make it all worth it.
Yes, they do. So, you got some questions for Sarah? For Bubbles? I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah. Okay. What made you want to start wrestling?
Oh man. He's gonna be so happy that you asked that. So if you haven't already heard the story, I was never really a fan of wrestling when I was younger. I never watched it. I didn't know anything about it. But then, gosh, when was that now? When the school opened, December of 2020, Brox Boulder, who was my friend before the school opened, before either of us started wrestling, he started and he was super excited about it. So he was telling me all about it. I heard nonstop about it from the day he started. But then shortly after that, I was going through a divorce and I was talking to him about how I never have time to go to the gym. I never have time to work on myself. And I didn't know what to do about it. And he was like, well, come join me at wrestling. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that because I'm not a wrestler. Like, I'm a mom with a desk job. That doesn't translate to wrestler. Plus, I'm very socially awkward, believe it or not, very socially awkward. So that also doesn't translate to wrestler. I didn't understand why he ever thought that was a good idea. But he was like, just trust me. He was like, it's only 2 days a week and it's a really great workout. And he was like, so it's better than the 5 days a week that you're trying to get at the gym. So just come over. And I was like, I'm not doing that. That's crazy. And I was like, I don't even want to be in front of people. He's like, just give it a couple weeks. He was like, give it 2 weeks. And if you're not in love with it, you can quit. So this was an ongoing conversation, by the way. This wasn't like a one conversation deal. And I kept saying no. He kept presenting the idea. I kept saying no. Finally, I was like, okay, fine. I'll give it 2 weeks. And if I don't love it, I'm out. And I was like, but it's going to be, that's it. Like 2 weeks and I won't ever come back. He's like, okay, fine. At least you'll have done that. So I came the very first night. I was terrified. Like, it was awful. I didn't even know how to get into the ring. I had no idea, like, anything at all. I think I've told you this story before, Destiny, but Bobby was just teaching me something real simple. I don't even remember what it was now. And I had to stop him in the middle of his sentence because he said the word turnbuckle. And I had no idea what that was. Like, I was like, I'm sorry, what is it? And he was like, turnbuckle. He just thought I didn't hear him. I said, yeah, okay, but what is that? And he's like, are you serious right now? I said, yeah. I said, I when I tell you I know nothing, I literally know nothing. And he said, why are you here? And I pointed at Brox. I said, because he made me. So I'm pretty sure none of them ever thought I was going to come back past the first night, including myself. Because when I left that first night, I called one of my best friends and I told her, I was like, that was awful. I hated it. I'm never going back. This is ridiculous. I'm already sore. And I was still in the parking lot of the training school. And she was like, no, ma'am. She said, that's not who you are. You promised him 2 weeks. You're going to finish out your 2 weeks at the very least. And I was like, okay, you're right. I have to do this. Well, by the end of the 2 weeks, I was obsessed. And I mean, it's been a little over 2 years now. And I can't get enough of it. Like, I started asking the other guys, like, names of people that I should be studying, both men and women. And I had to learn as much as I possibly could because I didn't know anything. Like, I knew of The Rock and I knew of John Cena. Had I ever seen them in a ring? Probably not. Like, but I knew their names probably because of like Hollywood. But I also don't really watch a lot of movies. So had I ever seen them in movies? Probably not. Like, so I don't know how this happened, but it did. I actually had someone tell me that I was one of the more popular independent women wrestlers in the area. And I was like, what?
Aw.
Like, I don't think that's true. I'm not sure where he's getting his advice or information, but he was from Pennsylvania. So somebody from Pennsylvania knew who I was. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Hey.
So I'm like, okay. So I also have raging ADHD and I've had a very long day. So I hope that some of that answered your question.
Did it answer your question? Yes, it did. It gave us a little look inside, to where we know more about you.
Oh, you'll learn a whole lot about me. I talk way too much.
So we watched you all in Kentucky. Was it Saturday? Saturday, wasn't it? And we saw the most scary thing. You want to elaborate on that? Was there a
Oh
reason
my
that
gosh.
they did that to you? I mean,
So for those of you who are watching that were not there on Saturday in Inez, Kentucky, that was probably the scariest moment of my life. I've never ever, not including wrestling, like I'm including my whole life. I've never felt like I was legitimately going to get killed or like legitimately in real harm before Saturday. That made me think I've had a pretty good life. But I was in the ring. Bobby had asked me to just kind of come out and thank the fans, kind of because it's pretty easy for me to just warm people up, I guess. I don't know. And we needed to fill a little bit of time. We were waiting on somebody to get there. So he's like, hey, this guy's like 5 minutes out. Can you just go out and kind of, talk to him and get him excited for the show? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I go out and I was like, hey, so glad you all are here tonight. We're so excited. We got a great show for you. I'm so excited for my match. And about that time, like, I saw this little kid and I'll never forget the look on that little girl's face because her eyes, man, they were about as big as saucers. And she goes, oh my gosh, look behind you. And I turn around and like three of the biggest, scariest looking dudes I've ever seen in my life, and one guy that was teeny tiny, but still really creepy looking, come walking through that tent. And I was like, what's going on? Cause, like normally, who's supposed to come out after you. And those guys were not, no, they weren't there. Like that was not supposed to happen. And so I was like, what is going on? Like, and they just kept coming and they kept coming. And the one guy, listen, it's really all a blur, what he was trying to say to me or what I even said back to him. Because at that point, it was almost like my survival instincts kicked in and I was just trying to not die. So I remember exchanging some words with the fuzzy hair one that has makeup, not makeup, what's that called? Face paint on.
his name
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So I remember exchanging words with him. And then I remember them stepping into the ring. And it was in that moment when they stepped into the ring, I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to kill me. And I was like, I'm shaking now just thinking about it. It was so scary. But all of a sudden I realized it was me and the three big guys. And I thought, where's the little guy? And about the time I thought, where's the little guy? I felt something around my ankles. And then he pulled me and my face bounced off that mat. And I thought, oh my gosh, like what's happening? And one of the big guys jumped out. I don't know if he jumped or not, but he got out of the ring nevertheless. And he threw me over his shoulders and he was carrying me away. And it was in that moment that I thought, if I don't get out of this, I'm not going to survive. So I just start beating him. And I had one arm that was free and that was it. So I'm just beating the back of his head, the back of his neck, Finally, it jostled him enough to where he let me go, and I just took off running as fast as I possibly could. And I knew that I could outrun at least the three big guys. The little guy, I didn't know, because is he fast? Is he not? I don't know. So I just ran as fast as I could. The little guy caught up to me right as I was getting my hand on one of the doors into the building behind us. And I don't know what he did to me, but I felt some sort of shooting pain. And I just let out the biggest like scream. Next thing I know, I'm locked in a dark room, and it's so scary. My clothes are torn and tattered. I'm covered in some kind of black smudge. Um, I'm not quite sure like what had happened, but my hair was all torn apart. My makeup was all smudged and ran. And I thought, okay, I've got to get out of here. I'm not sure where I am. I'm not sure what has happened, but I've got to get out. So I start like assessing my physical condition. I realize like none of my limbs are broken. I'm okay. But obviously, like I've been tossed around or something. You know what I mean? I could tell. But I knew I had the capability to get away. So I just start like trying to get free, trying to find a door, trying to find anything to show me where I'm at. It took me about 20 minutes, but then I was able to see it was just me and the little guy. I don't know where the big guys were, but it was just me and the little guy. So I gave him a couple shots, like to the gut, and then I took off, man. And I was screaming and crying and running for my life, and I ran straight out back into the crowd. My thought was, you know, be safe, safety with numbers kind of thing. So I ran straight back into the crowd. I ran into the ring because I thought if he's going to do anything, people are going to see it. And I ran back in there, and he caught up to me right as I was getting in the ring. And you might have seen that part because by then we're back in front of everyone. And I gave him a big kick to the gut. And right about then, two of the bigger guys caught up with us, and they both grabbed one of my arms each. So they're holding me back. And the smaller guy, man, he's down for the count because I'd already beat him up in the back a little bit. And then I gave him a real big kick right as we got in the ring. So he needed a minute because, he had to deal with the unpoppable force. So he needed just a minute. But those two bigger guys, man, they're holding me back, and I didn't know what their plan was, but I just knew that I needed help. Like I'm screaming, I'm yelling, let me go. I'm screaming for help. And then all of a sudden I just see everybody's heads just turn. And I didn't know what was going on, but then I heard the music. Mm-hmm. And I told those guys, I said, "Oh, you're in trouble now." Cause he might get mad at me for saying this if he even sees this, but some people are afraid of Misery, but he's a huge, big, lovable monster. That's how I always describe him to people. So once I heard his music, I knew that while he looks like a monster and he looks terrifying, he wasn't there to hurt me. He was there to help me. And he was going to make all of them wish they had never even shown up that day. So I was very excited to hear that because I knew that I was going to be okay in that moment. They knew it too because they let me go real quick. And he got in the ring and he didn't even have to say anything. Misery did not have to say one word. He just looked at the ref. Bobby said, "Ref, what's to say?" or whatever Bobby said. I'm still kind of traumatized by the whole thing. And the ref looked at Bobby, the ref looked at Misery, and he looked at the guys who were shaking their heads no. They were like, please no, please no. And the ref just clapped his hands together and said, tag match. So Bobby declared it a tag match. And then all of a sudden it was me and Misery against two of the boys from Obsidian Dominion. So I was still kind of in shock and just traumatized. And I just kind of stayed over in the corner, and Misery just basically took almost the whole match on his own. And he beat those guys like, hard. I wouldn't have wanted
it
to
was
spend
good.
either of them.
It was good.
Like, I didn't want to be either one of them. But at one point, one of the guys that was outside of the ring got a little too close. I was getting a little nervous. I kept telling him, "Hey, you stay over on your side. You stay over on your side." Well, I'm pretty sure that Misery heard me because he slid right out of the ring and he got right up in that guy's face. Now, Misery's a big dude, but that guy is about 6 or 7 inches taller than Misery. So he's easily over 7 feet tall. And that was crazy. Well, he got a hit from behind and they double teamed him a little bit. I didn't really like that because, he's already out there trying to help me. And now they're going to play him dirty like that. they got the better of him for a little while, but finally, I was able to help him out a little bit. So he just had his hand up there, and I tagged myself in, I think, because I don't know if he would have ever let me in had I not. But I tagged myself in, I think, and I went in and I got that little guy, man, and I gave him a few real good clotheslines, and honestly, I don't even know what else, because I was still kind of in shock. I'm still kind of in shock, and that's been a few days. But and then at one point, I remember grabbing the little guy, and I knew Misery was right behind me, and I just chucked him like straight behind me. His throat ran right into Misery's big. I'm trying to put my hand in the frame. Big hand, you know what I mean? So he was just right there. Misery got him way up off the ground. But then I knew I was still the legal man. So what's that guy's name? Wes Segura was in there. So I went over to Wes and I was like, oh, he's done. You know, like, have you ever played what's that game? Mortal Kombat? When it's like, finish him. So I went over to Wes Segura, and that's what I'm thinking in my mind. I'm just like, finish him. So I just pick him up and I give him my finisher, which is the X Factor. And I just laid him out, man. And I just went over, and it took all the strength I had left in my body just to pick up his leg to hold him for the pin. But I did, and the ref came over and counted 1, 2, 3. I think I was just as confused as Misery was. I went over and I couldn't fit my hand around his hand. So I grabbed his wrist to hold it up in like victory. and he looked at me, and he looked at our hands, and he yanked his hand away like, what the heck is going on? Like, he was so confused. But then when he looked around and he saw everyone cheering, he thought, well, I must have done something right. Because then he got out and he started like shaking hands with little kids and taking pictures and stuff. So he can try to say he's a monster all he wants, but he's a lovable monster, and that's the truth. So it was terrifying. And I actually had some really good Samaritan saw my post on Facebook, and he reported it to the Inez police. So those boys are going to be wanted in Martin County, Kentucky. So they better just stay away from there and anywhere close, because Kentucky, I'm sure you guys know, the whole state is a very close-knit, faithful, loyal kind of place. So I'm sure those boys even crossed the state line, and they're going to be wanted men.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Careful.
I'm sure. I know when you made that pin, both of us were like, she's got this. But yeah, that was scary. It was scary to watch.
It was terrifying.
I know Jeremiah was like, what's happening? What's going on?
Oh, I love him so much. But yeah, I'll tell you, it was the scariest moment of my life. But I knew once I heard Misery's music, it was like that. I wasn't afraid anymore, because I knew that once he was there, it was over for them. Yeah, for them, it was over. They didn't stand a chance. But that's what they do. They're just bullies, and they just pick on people they know they can beat, or at least they think they know they can beat. So that's all they could do was pick on a little girl, because that's all that they stood a chance against. But then once Misery came out, they didn't stand a chance anymore. Shoot, if it would have just been me and anyone else, they wouldn't have stood a chance. You know what I mean? If it would have just been me and one of them, they wouldn't have stood a chance. Any one of them, I could have taken them.
Yeah, I believe it. But when there's so many of them, you know,
yeah,
hard for you to do anything against one. Against how many? 5? 4.
4. Yeah, there's 4 of them.
Well, as big as the one is, might as well be 5.
He's literally 2.5 feet taller than me. 2.5 feet. I'm like, that's like almost a whole toddler.
Yeah.
Like, that is a whole toddler. Like, that's me and a toddler. I'm like, that's insane.
Or you and Destiny. No.
Destiny, you get on my shoulders. We'll play chicken with the Voodoo King. That's what
you should. You should do that at the next time you all are in training. Y'all should do that and see if see if you're taller than him.
Oh, just barely.
Yeah.
My goodness. I tell him all the time I'm going to get a step ladder and come up there and punch him right in the face. He just makes this sound like he always does. And he walks away. He's a scary dude. That's the sound he always makes. He goes, that's how he sounds all the time.
That's awesome. Do you have any upcoming events we should know about?
Well, I sure do. September 30th, FTC's AOG presents Wake Me Up When September Ends. And that's going to be at the Ashland Alumni Gym in Ashland, Kentucky. I think that they named the building after the city. Ashland Alumni Gym in Ashland, Kentucky. It's just a guess, but
yeah,
pretty safe bet there. So I'm excited for that. If you see my match card, it says Sarah Bubbles will be in action. So we're going to keep that a mystery for now. If you want to see what kind of action Sarah Bubbles is going to be in, you're just going to have to come to the show. So I'm excited. You should be excited. Everyone should be excited. Because even if you're not a fan of Sarah Bubbles, you should be. But it's okay if you're not. There's going to be so much going on there. I mean, we've got tag matches. We've got a cage match. Our cage match is for career versus company. And that's shaping up to be an awesome match. It's got a lot of hype. There's a lot of conversations going on around that match. People are super excited. Plus, the Ashland legend Bobby Blaze is going to be in attendance, and he's always worth coming to see. So that's exciting.
I always say in almost all of our podcasts, everybody at FTC is, worth coming to see. I get excited about it. I mean, it's great company. I really do. Not to mention Destiny is going to be training. She's training off though, so.
Listen, I told her last night, I said, I can't wait for us to have a show in Ohio, because in Ohio, you don't need a license. And then I'm just going to have her come hang out with me if she decides she's going to be a good person.
Are you a good person? Yeah. She's a good person. Yeah.
I'm trying to raise her up right, Mama. I'm trying my best.
Hey, you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
Well, if she chooses the path of good versus the path of evil, she can be my wing woman. That's funny because, it could be ring woman and you could just, but she can be my wing woman.
The wing.
That's a hard
wing
one.
Woman.
See?
Wait, you will be her ring woman or her wing woman?
The wing woman.
The ring. Oh no, the ring wing woman.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's great.
Yep. That's what I'll have her do. If I told her I might try to talk the promoter into that if I get a spot on our show coming up in October at the Rone Theater in Ironton. If I can get a spot on that, maybe I'll just have her come out and, maybe do a manager kind of thing, or even just show support in some way. I don't know. There's always something. Mm-hmm. There's always a spot for every person. And like I've played just as Sarah Bubbles since I started. I've done a manager spot. I've done a ref spot. I've done a guest announcer spot. I've just done ring crew. You can always find where you belong in wrestling. Shoot, I've just ran merch tables. I was trying to still keep thinking about everything I've done, but you can always find a spot to help at a wrestling show. That's why we always tell people in trainings and stuff, we say, even if you're not booked, still come to the show because we'll find something. You know what I mean? Because we can always use extra hands in so many different places. And once you're fully trained, you never know when somebody's going to, at the last minute, just not show up. I mean, Saturday, we did have a few different ones canceled the day of the show. And we had...
You're there.
Sorry. We can
okay.
we can record that out, right? We can edit that out.
Yeah.
I was getting a phone call. But we had a few that almost didn't show up. And we had one that just didn't show up because they had car trouble on the way to the show. So you just never know when they might say, hey, you got your gear with you? And then they'll say, go get your gear. You're in the show. So you'll notice, like, there are some shows that we'll just go to just for, like, research purposes. We're not booked on them or nothing. And then there are some shows that, like, Joe will rent out his ring and we'll go to help with ring setup and tear down and stuff. We always have our gear just in case, because you just never know. They might even just say, hey, we need an extra match, and because we got time to fill. Do you have some guys that could work a match real quick? And Joe will be like, oh yeah. And he'll be like, guys, go get your gear. You're working a match. Like, so you just never know. And that's why I tell people, come to every show. Like, whether you're booked or not, show up, have your gear just in case. But if it's not your home promotion, you never want to say, hey, I'm here and I have my gear. You know what I mean? You don't want to be pushy and weird, because then they'll never book you. I'm probably talking too much. I'm sorry. It's a podcast. You're supposed to talk on a podcast.
Exactly. Do you have anything you want to ask? You're trying to think. Do you have any advice for her?
Yes. Stop being so quiet.
I'm working on it.
So listen here to the Keep It Real podcast world. We got to get Destiny out of her shell. We got to get her out of this bubble, no pun intended, that she's in. And we got to make her not so afraid of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Not like of worldly things. That's not what I mean. But I mean like of people. So she's just so shy and quiet and backward. And my goodness, you can't be that way. I mean, I am a little socially awkward, but my real life person is. Sarah Bubbles isn't. That's what I've tried. I was trying to explain that to her last night. Like when I'm like just myself, I'm weird and I'm awkward and I don't like to talk to people and I don't like starting conversations. But when I'm Sarah Bubbles, I'm not myself. That's the best part about wrestling is I might be killing kayfabe right now too. I'm probably gonna get in a lot of trouble when I go to training tomorrow.
Oh no.
But when I'm Sarah Bubbles, that's the best about that is it's an escape from reality. It's getting to live almost like a double life. And for me, that is the best part because sometimes life sucks. It really does. And getting to just escape from your life for a couple hours a week, it makes it worth it, man. It makes it worth all the bumps and all the injuries and all the crap, and especially crap that we have to go through just as women. Oh, don't get me started on that. But it makes it worth all of it. The fact that just for a few hours a week, I don't have to exist as myself. I can be whoever I've designed myself to be. And I've designed myself to be a not socially awkward weirdo. So design yourself to be whoever you want to be. And do it. And practice your promos.
Yeah,
And send them to me.
I will.
Do a promo.
Do a promo.
No, why not? Do a promo.
We gotta get Destiny to stop doing promos like she's reading them off of an index card.
Yeah. So just do a promo. You did one when we opened.
Listen, she did a pretty good one last night. Something like when the clock strikes midnight on December 31st, Destiny disappears and the Neon Enigma makes her debut or something like that. It was pretty good. I have a horrible memory. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I can't remember.
I've got a bad memory too.
It's terrible. I think the kids take it away from us. They suck it out when they grow inside of our bodies.
I think so. I think that's a lot of it. I really do.
Somebody else said that that trauma makes your memory go away, like when you experience trauma in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And trauma is like people think, I think, so listen, you might edit this stuff out because it's just stupid, but, or maybe not. Maybe people actually like it. I don't know. Um, so I've like, my shoot job is I'm a teacher. That's how I explain it. But I'm an education coach. So I have to stay up to date on all the most recent everything that has to do with education. Um, and I work for a Head Start. So I have to stay up to date with everything related to Head Start and like early childhood and all of that stuff. And I talk about everything from like curriculum and like developmentally appropriate practices to even like mental health. So I have to know everything. I literally spend most of my time just learning stuff so that I can spew it back out to the teachers. So I heard a study that so many times when people hear the word trauma, they attribute it to like sexual abuse or like a car wreck, when really trauma can be like having a best friend when you were younger and then no longer having the same best friend when you're older. Nothing happened to that person. They didn't die or nothing. It's just you two drifted apart. And that registers in your brain the same way that a car wreck does. But we don't realize that because we don't associate that with the actual word that is trauma. But it has the same effect on your brain and your neurons as something like a car wreck or abuse. Isn't that interesting? I'm a huge nerd. So stuff like that, it interests me a lot.
See, again, I studied psychology, criminal psychology. That's something that I've studied. So that's always the human brain.
It's fascinating.
All the time. Yeah. I love to know more about it.
Well,
knowing why people do things and what makes this happen. And,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's like there's little, I'm trying to get my hand in the thing. There's little receptors in your brain that are like spark plugs. And there's different ones that do different things. And there's certain spark plugs that can form relationships and can form attachments. And when you're a baby, those are like, they're like doing the sparky thing. And then they like catch, I know it's not fire, but they like catch fire. And if you don't have that, if you don't form attachments, healthy attachments when you're a baby, you never will. It dies off.
wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is. That is.
If you've ever met people who cannot form relationships and cannot form healthy attachments, it's because they didn't have that in their life when they were babies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That explains a lot about, like, not just to talk bad about men, but when you don't have a good attachment with your father, it's like then as you grow, you can't have relationships with men. It's like you always feel like you're scared or you're beneath them. I don't know how we got on that topic, but
I'm sorry. I'm a nerd.
No, that's what Keep It Real. I mean, so I said we talk about everything. There's never any just one topic, it seems like. But yeah, I mean, that you don't have a healthy relationship with your dad or your mom or vice versa, it's going to cause the same things.
Well, and on the opposite end of that, if you have a very healthy relationship with your parents and then you somehow end up in an unhealthy relationship, you will fight tooth and nail to try to make that relationship work because your brain has told you that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be healthy because all relationships are healthy because you've never seen a bad one. So you'll stay in it way longer than you ever should have because your brain can't make sense of it. It can't make sense of why is this not working? It should be working. All relationships work because they've only ever worked in your life. It's insane. Like you cannot comprehend it. Yeah. It's crazy stuff.
It is.
So welcome to the Keep It Real podcast, where we're talking about brains and neurons and baby stuff with Sarah Bubbles, the wrestler.
And unhealthy relationships. Maybe that's why those guys did that to you.
That's what it is. They didn't have good relationships with their mamas.
That's what it is.
Yep. Sorry, fellas. I'm not your mom. And I never will be. I'm done having kids.
Especially 30-year-old kids, right?
30. They wish.
Or older. I don't know
And
how old they
wild
are. I never asked.
Shoot, 30. You just made all their days. My goodness.
Well,
Anyway.
not my age, but when you get my age, everybody looks 30.
Destiny thinks 30 is old. She's like, ugh, I hope I'm never
No,
30.
I
Hey,
How
don't
old
you
is
start
old
with
to
me.
you? How old is old to you? Like everybody has a number in their head that makes them think, oh, that's old.
Be careful.
Like 70?
Did you say 70?
Yeah. She said 70.
That's a lot older than what I thought you would say.
Works for me. At least it wasn't in my range.
She's probably doing that to be safe there, Mom.
Probably. That's what I've always said, though. Yeah. So who's your favorite wrestler? Like, currently?
I don't have favorite wrestlers.
I forgot because you haven't followed it, bro.
No, listen. So, like, I watch, like, our FTC dudes. I like them. I mean,
Okay.
I like Kevin Owens. I like him a lot.
Kevin Owens is really good. He is really good.
Yeah.
Well, and he can do everything.
Everything.
He can be a jerk, but he can be your best friend. Like, he's got this really good, like, love-hate thing with Sami Zayn.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays it so well. But he also, like, his technical skills are really good too. And so to see that he's really good with the dramatic side of wrestling, but also really good with the technical side of wrestling, he's very versatile as a wrestler. And I think that that's a lost art. I think some are either really good at one or really good at the other, or they just look like $1 million. That's one thing I really love about Kevin Owens. Does he look like the average wrestler? No. Does he have a six-pack? No. Is he, like, covered in tribal tattoos and look like $1 million and look like every woman's fantasy man? Not really. I mean, listen, he's definitely a lot of women's cup of tea. Like, I'm trying to think of a way that Sarah Bubbles would say this. He's definitely attractive. He's definitely someone that I find attractive. But
not in a conventional way. Not in what everybody else would look and go, ooh, you know.
Right. Are they putting him on the cover of Sports Illustrated?
Right.
In a wet pair of shorts? No. Yeah. What are those called? Swim trunks. I was thinking, for the life of me, those words would not come into my brain. Like, that was crazy. I was trying to think, what are they called when they're Speedos? That's what I was trying to think. In a wet Speedo, are they putting? No. You know, like, when you're trying to think, like, the guys that are built like $1 million, you think of, like, Bobby Lashley. You think of Roman Reigns. You think of those type of guys. But you don't think of Kevin Owens. Mm-mm. But would I rather be with someone who looks like Kevin Owens or someone who looks like Roman Reigns? I would choose Kevin Owens every single day, because if I'm with someone who looks like Roman Reigns, I'm constantly worried about myself and my physical appearance. You know what I mean? I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel comfortable in my own skin. I want to feel like people aren't constantly looking at us and wondering, why is he with her? I know this is so, I don't even know where I'm at right now in this conversation anymore. Because you asked about my favorite wrestler and I immediately went to why I think he's good looking. At least I talked about his skills first, right?
Yeah, you did. You did. Yeah, you did.
But I like Kevin Owens for multitudes of reasons. And I think he's underrated. I think he's underappreciated.
I agree with that.
I also really like Ricochet for and the same exact, I think he's so underappreciated. I think he's been in forever, and I think that he's never got the push that he deserves. I don't know why they keep him mid card. I don't know why they're not giving him what he deserves. He has so much talent.
Yes,
He does things that most of the guys on that card, most of the guys that are belt holders, would never in their wildest dreams be able to do. But he does them well, and he does them with accuracy, and he's amazing. And I think that they are insane for not writing him all the way to the top of the card and being the main event on every show ever.
Agree. Because he's just like, I think, was it Troy that called him Flippy?
Yeah, probably.
Flippy. Yeah. I was gonna say he's so just like aerodynamic. Like he's you know, he can go anywhere, do anything. Like he has springs on his feet. Yeah, he's really good. Really good.
Yeah. I do like him.
He's the total package. I mean, he has the look. He has, the talent. I mean, yeah, I agree. Very
see, the one thing I don't see out of him though a lot is the theatrical stuff. Like I don't see him in a lot of storylines, and I don't see him and I feel like that's a part that some people forget about in wrestling. I feel like there's a lot of people that are either 100% to one side or 100% to the other. There's some people that are more concerned about the technical, and that's all they care about. And then there's some people that are more concerned about how much can you entertain me, and they don't care if you can actually wrestle or not. That's when it gets dangerous, because that's when people can get hurt. And I don't like that. So I feel like you have to have a mix of all of it. You have to be able to entertain. Bobby hates that word, by the way. Don't ever use it around him. You have to be able to entertain, but you also have to be able to actually wrestle. There's a big, like, fine line that you have to walk there, and you have to be able to be on both sides of that. I feel like it's a very tricky balance there. But I get told very, very regularly by the boys that I don't know anything about wrestling. So what do I know? I'm just here being Sarah Bubbles.
Yeah, see, well, we get told that too, being female podcasters about wrestling.
It's females in this world. We just don't get nothing. I've been told by promoters before, it doesn't matter what I do in my match because I'm a woman. Just go out there and be pretty. I don't go back to those promotions.
That's horrible.
That's
horrible. You don't go to them either.
Oh, don't worry. I'll make sure to let her know.
Yeah.
When the time comes. When the time comes, she'll know where to go and where not to go. We take care of each other.
And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. What has been your most difficult match or your most memorable that you've been in, aside from what just recently happened?
Well,
or your most difficult opponent?
Ooh. I think probably my most difficult opponent. Oh gosh. I can't remember who was on the other team. We did a 6-woman tag about a year and a half ago, and it was Reese Ramon and myself and Natalia Markova. The 3 of us were on a team together. We were defending FTC. And then ECC was a promotion that we kind of ran them out of business because they were in Ashland. They were infringing on our territory. So it was them or us, and we chose us. So, and on their side, it was Renee Michelle and 2 other people. The one girl, I can see her face, and I even follow her on Instagram, and I can't remember her name. I'm bad with names is the problem. She was very good, and I respect her as a wrestler, and I'm just terrible with names. That's awful. I feel so guilty. But then the other girl was like a fly-by-nighter. She was passing through, and so we were able to get her, and then she was on her way to the next town. So she's not really normally around here, but I can't remember her name either. That's just terrible. But anyway, I think that might have been my toughest match that I've ever done. Because most of the work that I did as the newest person on my side was with their most experienced person, which was Renee Michelle. I know that makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
But I was with Renee Michelle. And she is a very, very good wrestler. Definitely the best I've ever been in the ring with. And that made it difficult for me to catch her off guard. You know what I mean? To give her surprise moves. And so, with it being a 6-woman tag and women never get a whole lot of time on a card, we didn't have a lot of time in the ring together, but it was difficult for my team to get the victory over the other women. We did get the victory over the other women, but it was difficult. We had to be very smart. We had to be very cunning in how we were able to secure that win. We did not play dirty, even though the 2 girls that I was on that team with are normally not very nice. I explained to them that this was different. Like we're representing FTC. We can't be, they can't be their normal selves. Like now, since then, Reese has kind of seen the light. You know, she's starting to be a better person, starting to kind of like stay to the side of good. Now, I don't know about Natalia Markova. I haven't seen her in a while, but normally in this time they were not so nice girls, and I was explaining to them like we have to be good, we're representing our company, like we have to make sure that people understand we're a reputable company. So they were well behaved, and we were able to very what's this word, like abide by the rules and secure the victory. So but that was very difficult because the other team was definitely not abiding by the rules, which made it even more difficult to secure a victory. But we did it. It was fun and difficult and memorable. So that one was a good one.
Do you have anything else you want to ask?
I'm trying.
She's trying. It's in there. It just ain't. It's like it's not connecting to come out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It's just not. Yeah. Sure, you don't have anything? Any thoughts on it? I do. I have something else. We were talking the other day about different wrestling schools. If you were talking to someone, and I know you'll say FTC, but what are the good points of FTC that you would give someone if they were asking about where to go to wrestling school at? What would be your selling points?
Well, so the first thing would be our facility. I mean, when we're not traveling all over the tri-state area, basically, we normally have our show ring set up in the school too. So we work with two training rings, which is unheard of. Normally you get one and it's barely squeezed in there. We get 2. We also have a full complete gym. So we have weight training stuff, we have cardio stuff, we have bikes, we have treadmills, we have all of that. And it's set up for anyone to use at any time. We have what we call the chill area. So we got the big old sectional, and we have 2 couches. We have a full refrigerator and freezer. We just upgraded from like a regular size TV to like a huge TV. I swear, I don't even know how big that thing is, like a 60-inch maybe. It's gigantic. And now we have like a Xbox and a Wii, and I don't know about stuff like that, but I know there's a Wii and an Xbox of some sort. We have a promo cutting area, and we have the podcasting area where Brock's cuts his hitting the ropes with Brock's Boulder stuff. There's so much stuff in our building. And I've seen like videos that other schools will post, and it almost looks like their schools are so small that their training ring touches each side, like each side of their training ring is up against a wall. Well, ours is huge compared to, like, we're not touching walls. You know what I mean? So I feel like we offer so much more. And like we bring in photographers to take 8x10s pretty often. I mean, we just had one come in a couple weeks ago, and then we have one coming in, I think he said tomorrow. So they come in pretty regularly to take 8x10s. Joe tries to get a massage therapist in about once a month to give us massages and stuff. Um, he really takes care of us as his wrestlers. And that's how he sees us, as his wrestlers. He takes care of us. Plus, we get training by the world renowned Bobby Blaze. You know what I mean? And the thing is, we don't get blanket training, we get individualized training. I would guarantee that almost, I would say probably every wrestler who's been at the school for more than 6 months has received a personalized message from Bobby with a video attached that's like a match that he has sent them that he wants them to watch because it's something that he thinks would work well for them. Because that's what Bobby does. He'll sit at home and he'll think of moves that would work well for you personally. And he'll look up a match that he knows has that move in it and he'll send it to you and he'll say, watch this match. I think it's good for you. Or watch this part of this match. Or if it's something like that you struggle with, maybe like hyping up a crowd or interacting with crowd or, something at the risk of giving away the business. He'll send you a match and he'll say, watch this match and tell me what I think you should take away from it. Because he does stuff like that too. He's not always just going to give you the answer. He wants you to find it on your own. And not everybody learns the same way. Not everybody has the same move set. Not everybody's going to do the same stuff. Like, I don't move the same way Titan Troy does because I'm not a grappler. I'm not a what do they call them? A shoot wrestler. He's really good at that kind of stuff. He's really good at on the mat, chain wrestling, like in and out with his hands and moves quick. And I'm not that person. I always make the joke, but I think it might be kind of real sometimes. I'm made of concrete. Like, my feet don't leave the mat. And I try to keep it that way because I have no vertical. Like, I don't go up. I stay here. And then like Brock's Boulder is a big dude, not as big as he used to be. Like, he's melting, but he's a big dude. But my gosh, that guy can jump. Like, he has a drop kick like nobody I've ever seen, and he's a big dude. But then, like, so that's what I mean. Like, Bobby takes wrestling and individualizes for every single student in his class, and not only that, but his delivery of his instruction is individualized for every single person in his class too, because there's somebody like I'm a pretty quick learner, so he can be like, okay, here's what you're going to do, and he'll tell me and I got it. But then we have other people who aren't that way, and so where somebody you could show a headlock one time and they'll have it, other people you might work on a headlock for 6 months straight or more.
Wow.
And he has so much patience with that because he'll work on it and work on it and work on it and work on it. Because with Bobby, the thing he cares about the most is that you're safe. You keep yourself safe, you keep your opponent safe, because that's what it's about. And it's also about getting yourself over, getting your opponent over, because that's what is most important, safety and just getting over. And so he really teaches that. He teaches more than just wrestling. He teaches respect. He teaches professionalism. So we don't go in and we just learn to wrestle. We learn the business. So that's probably the biggest thing that I would preach is we don't just learn to wrestle. We learn the business of wrestling. We learn professional wrestling, not just how to wrestle. And we get it for pretty cheap compared to compared to other places. Our rates are amazing.
We were blown away when, we were talking, trying to find somewhere for her to go. And some of these people were just, I'm not going to give any names, but one person said $200 a lesson.
A lesson?
Yeah. For, what was it, 2 hours?
Yeah.
And ours is $15 a class. If you go per class,
yeah,
$15 per class. And ours is 2-hour sessions. So
yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, that's ridiculous.
Was it even a reputable trainer? Like, you don't have to drop names,
No,
but was it?
They were not. I mean,
God.
You may have heard of them, but
Not like Bobby Blaze.
no, not like Bobby Blaze. It's not anyone that's been in any major circuit.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, that's a no. So then we were talking to Joe. Kevin was talking to Joe, my husband.
Mhm.
He was talking to Joe, and Joe was like, well, hey. And it was really funny because I told Destiny it was destined for her to go there because I had talked to Bobby before at an event and telling him she was wanting to train, and he was like, oh, I'll bring her down, And then Kevin and Joe were talking because they were at a job together. And the same day they were talking, we were talking to Brox and and Troy about her training and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is like, it's all been planned before we knew it was going to happen,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm very, very thankful. I'm so thankful because, I mean, I've always loved Bobby, always loved Bobby. And to see how he interacts with you all and everything, he is a very caring person. You can tell.
He is. He's very passionate about the business.
Yeah.
And that's, you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that he's got a true passion for it.
Yeah. So, and me watching you all, you can see that you all have a passion for it. Watching him have a passion for it. It's like you all feed off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Just, oh my gosh.
Yep.
It's great.
It's good stuff.
I love it. Yep. Good people. Good people. So you are watching. If you're looking for a wrestling school, FTC, Art of Grappling. It's very highly recommended. How can they get in touch? Facebook?
So yeah. Well, so let's start with the school. So with the school, if you want more information on that, we have a school page on Facebook. We have a school page on Instagram. I don't think we have one on Twitter, but we have FTC's Art of Grappling. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, and then we also just have FTC Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram, I think, and I think Twitter. If you message any of those, you can ask for information about the school and you'll get it. You'll probably get a quicker answer if you message the Art of Grappling pages. Now, if you want to find me, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I'm not very active on my Twitter because it's not even Twitter anymore. It's an X. I don't know what people call it. I don't really care for it much. I'm just on there because somebody told me to be. But I'm more active on my Instagram and my Facebook. So hit me up on any of that stuff. And I post all my upcoming shows on those. And yeah, I have merch, but I only ever sell it at shows. I don't have like merch websites or nothing because they charge a lot for shipping, and I don't really care for that. If you really want something and you live far away, sorry, hold on. There we go. If you want something and you live far away, just message me. We'll work something out because even if I have to like charge you for shipping, it's going to be less than what one of those companies would charge you. So I'm cool. I'm a normal person and I'm down to earth. So it's all good.
And if someone wants to, is interested in booking you, the same thing.
Yep.
Just your social media.
One of the social medias. I get inquiries all the time. Just on Facebook, I get a lot of stuff that's not inquiries. So maybe start out with something like, "Are you available?" Because then I'll be like, "Oh, okay, I know what that's about," and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right.
Thank you so much. I know you've got another thing to attend to here in a minute.
Yeah.
But tell everybody we said hello, and we will see you tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
And you just have a great day. And thank you again so much.
Yes.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Thanks for accommodating. All right. Bye.